So let's watch this video by Nixxiom. Biggest problem with MMOs today. I already know what the topic is because I watched the beginning and I was like, okay, I have a lot to say about the topic. So I'm gonna watch it live and gonna make a reaction. And I think he's wrong. Probably because I haven't watched everything, but I'm pretty sure based on the topic and I know his perspective on it, I'm pretty sure he's wrong. In my honest opinion, my opinion doesn't have to be right, but it is my opinion, and for me, it is right. So, let's watch this.
Why is it nowadays that every single MMO developer out there treats the level up experience in their game like it's some big, giant, boring grind that just...
And this is exactly where I stopped the video the first time, because I was like, okay, I know where this is going. Honestly, I don't think developers treat the leveling experience as a dumb, boring, useless chore grind. If you play any MMO as a new player, without knowing what the endgame is like, without watching any guide, I honestly think the leveling experience in every single MMO is good. The only problem that MMOs have when it comes to leveling is the comparison to endgame. And I have no idea how you could even try to fix this. Where you're gonna throw people into a raid while they're leveling? Good luck getting enough people. It is dead content. Pretty much dead on arrival.
Just needs to be sludged through in order to get to endgame because, oh yeah, that's where the real fun is. How many MMOs...
That's where the bigger fun is. It's not even the real fun, but that's where everyone is. It's like standing in line to the club. Yeah, you can have fun at the line while standing in line at the club. You can still hear the music. There's plenty of people there, right? But you know the party is inside the club. It's not in the waiting line.
MMOs exist nowadays where you start playing it because your friends are all playing it. You get to like level 15 or something. You're bored out of your mind and your friends are like, nah, dude, like you got to get to level 60. You got to get to level 80. You got to get to level 200 something.
And again, you're coming with... So this is the problem. When you join a game where your friends are already playing the game, you want to get to where they are, because that's where the fun. You want to play with your friends. It is like, I don't even understand how you expect to fix this, to let the high-level players play with the low-level players in the same thing. Where it's still challenging for the high-end players, but then if it's challenging for the high-end players but not challenging for the new player, that makes the high-end player feels like, well, I didn't make any progress. But if it's too easy, then the lower-level player is getting carried and he's not having fun. I don't think there's any middle ground here. It's either too easy and you get carried, or it's too hard for the high-end player, making him feel weak even though he's stronger than the low-level players. I don't think there's any good way to fix this. I honestly think, unless the game revolves around leveling, which it used to, then there's no... Like, you cannot fix this. Unless you want the end game to be like, well, once you reach end game, you do this little quest, and then you get to reborn and start all over again. Unless it's that type of game, I honestly don't see how you would fix the problem of, like, low-level players and high-end end game players. Like, it's not...
Before the fun really starts, what kind of garbage is that? A video game needs to be fun and entertaining from the moment that you log in to the moment that you log out.
It is. Man, I'm like not even 40 seconds into the video. Like I said, I have a lot to say about this. In my opinion, all MMOs are fun, like for leveling. The biggest issue people have with MMOs that they get into or they want to try is, first of all, they have experience from other MMOs and they know that the end game is where the raids are, the dungeons, all that stuff is. Let's just say this, even if you had, right, and I remember Taliesin and Evital, they made a video about this a long time ago, where it's like, if you do like a story It was like basically to improve the leveling experience. You do the whole story, and then it's like, well, but the raid is where the story concludes, but you never get to do the raid because you're low level, and it's like the raid is irrelevant. So they wanted to be able to do it with the NPCs, and again, it would be great for a very, very small amount of players because no one would stick around for that. So it's like you're literally just asking them to take the development time to create the bots, the AI, to do this raid with you for maybe like 1% of the players doing it. I mean, long term. At the beginning, honestly, I can even see like high-end players trying it out. But long term, this is dead content. So, like, what are you really asking developers to do? To waste their time, to waste the money of the company, to make content that no one is ever really gonna use past like maybe the first couple months? It's a bit absurd, you know?
Otherwise, what the heck is even the point of playing it? If you have to go through 500 hours of crap and garbage just to...
But it's not crap and garbage. It's like, it's regular leveling. What do you get in leveling? Here's the thing, right? What do you get, let's say, because he's using WoW, but like any MMO, what do you get through leveling up? You are increased in power, especially when the game is not scaling monsters. So your power gets stronger, you get new abilities, you enjoy your class more, right? You find new armor to make yourself stronger. You can enjoy crafting if that's your thing, gathering materials. If you really take your time and level, and actually like your goal is to enjoy leveling is actually fun. When you come with the expectations like I'm only leveling because I need to get to max level, yes, obviously everything you do at that point is a chore because you're not max level. Everything to get to max level makes you bored until you get to max level. It's the same thing with like, why don't I like Blizzard, like World of Warcraft right now? Well, the end game consists only of Mythic Plus and raiding for me. But no one, like, what is my expectation? I want to get best in slot gear. Well, the best in slot gear is time gated because it's the vault. It is extremely low RNG, like 3 to 6% drop rate for the item you want, right? On content that takes hours, and there's a weekly lockout on the raid, and fuck it, man. I just don't want to do it. It's just everything seems like a chore for me to get the gold because I'm not there to enjoy the Mythic Plus content because I don't find it enjoyable. I'm not there to enjoy the content I'm doing. My goal is beyond the content. And it's same thing with like people who are like their goal is the end game. Therefore, they're not enjoying the leveling experience because it is something that takes away their time from end game. So yeah, when you come with that expectation, obviously leveling will suck, but it doesn't matter which game you play. This will always be the case. The only time that leveling is enjoyable for people is when leveling is extremely short and the end game is extremely accessible. Because then they can make new characters, re-level, enjoy that thing because it's like, whatever, it doesn't take long. I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm going to try maybe something else because I know I'm not wasting a whole lot of time doing it. And then I go back to endgame and do the same thing again, right? Take, for example, V-Rising. V-Rising, one of the funnest games to create new characters in. Why? But it makes no sense. But people will rejoin new games over and over, new servers over and over. There's a 1 week to 2 week wipes on most servers and people keep playing them. There's some servers with like 100, I think it's like 48 people, but there's like a lineup because like there's actually more than 48 people, but it's like the max people that can be on the server at one time is 48. But why do people like it? Because you know the route, you can optimize it. Leveling like and it's not even really leveling, but it's like advancing your technology. In V-Rising, you can literally go from 0 to hero the same day within a few hours. That's not the case with MMOs. So if anything, to fix the leveling problem, to make it more enjoyable, I would say cut down on it even more. Not make it longer. Unless, again, your goal is in your gameplay is the leveling experience, and then you can make it as long as you want, which is what Ashes of Creation is going to do as well.
To get to a few hours of fun, that's not a good game. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot for the past several weeks ever since
Wait, what did you say?
Garbage just to get to a few hours of fun. That's not a good game. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot for the
Yeah, well, I mean, using this logic, this means that the leveling experience is too long to do the little fun that you can have in endgame. So he's either suggesting to make leveling a lot shorter, or I have no idea what else he's suggesting. It's literally just like, okay, so make the leveling experience shorter. Because it doesn't matter how fun you can do the leveling experience if your goal is the end game. It's gonna be a chore regardless.
For the past several weeks ever since I started playing classic WoW Hardcore. You see, in this version of World of Warcraft, you're trying to hit level 70 without dying, and if you do die...
So here's the thing. What is his goal with Hardcore WoW? Which is, by the way, in my opinion, one of the dumbest things people have created. But they're having fun, and that is okay. You can have your fun. I think you're an idiot, but you can have your fun, right? I mean, plenty of idiots find... people go out and drink and they find it fun. I think they're idiots, right? They're spending their money for nothing. But anyways, that's not about it. What is the goal with Hardcore WoW? Leveling. You don't care about the end game. You don't care about doing molten core. You don't care about end game activity. You don't care about farming the materials to craft your consumables to do the raid. No. Your goal is leveling to 60 without dying. That in itself, that goal is already, in a sense, the fun. It doesn't matter how bad, how poorly designed this game is. The fun is the goal. It's a similar thing with like speedrunners enjoy the same game. Do they, like speedrunners of Dark Souls, right? It's like, oh, I can speedrun this and like, whatever. As D2 is a better example because I'm not too familiar with Dark Souls because there's a lot of glitches, whatever. D2 speedrunning, clearing normal within like an hour. I think, what was the record? I think Llama is like at 52 minutes or some shit. I don't even know. Or like an hour 52 on the Sork. Whatever. Either way, doing that, the goal is not to go and do Mephisto runs and do Bale runs and all that stuff. The goal is to clear the game as fast as possible. It's not the same as like, well, I'm just gonna go here, kill this boss, and then I'm gonna go there. Now I have to go back, bring the scroll, open the portal, set Dicker. This is not the goal. The goal, get to the end line as fast as possible. That's fun because the goal makes it fun. Same with hardcore. The hardcore part of it is what makes it fun. You are focusing all of your fun into leveling. You think it's fun to fight a spider? If you think about it in a vacuum, fighting this spider is the same amount of fun as fighting this spider without the goal of hardcore. But knowing that if you fuck up the pool and there's 2 spiders on you, so you have to fight it slower, have to fight in a proper location, so you don't actually risk yourself dying, that's the fun. You're not gonna do that in regular leveling, especially when your goal is, well, why am I wasting time killing this fucking spider? Let me just get to endgame.
You have to
I need to stop pausing. We're like at 12 minutes already,
and this
13.
has created an extraordinarily challenging way to play the game that has hooked thousands of players. In fact, the community has been growing so fast recently that Blizzard is even releasing official hardcore.
It's gonna
runs.
die
I just
out
made
by
a
the
video
time they
on
release
that
it.
recently. Go check that one out. But as I've been doing classic WoW hardcore and as I've been dying and I've been having to restart in Durotar and Tirisfal Glades, Dunmore, Owen Forest, whatever, as I've been having to do the same starting zones over and over again, I've never gotten bored of it. And I'm talking with all these people in
Because
guilds and
again,
in general chat,
like I said
and
already,
they're not bored of it either. People will say, oh yeah, this is my 20th character. Oh yeah, this is my 10th character. Here we go again, Durotar.
Because the content is not going away as well. This is another big point I want to say. Why is leveling so bored, especially when you're rushing to endgame? This is also a big problem with the vertical progression games. The content that is available now while you're leveling, okay, imagine this. Imagine leveling was super fun and super long and really really interesting. Whatever you can imagine to level for leveling to be fun, that is it. But it takes you so long that you might miss the end game content that is only available for a set period of time. It's not that it's not available like with WoW right? The 0.1 patch is gonna come out. Good luck getting a raid group for Razageth. Right, good luck getting a raid group unless there's like a best in slot trinket. Good luck getting a raid group for Vault of the Incarnates. You're not gonna get it. Vertical progression makes all content before current progression null and void. Why are people having fun with Hardcore Classic? Well, the content is not going anywhere. What's after ICC? Oh, TBC. So, but like they're not shutting down they're not shutting down the Classic server. So technically, Classic is going to stay forever. Therefore, you're not in a rush. You can take your time. You don't care that the end game is there because it's always going to be there.
Tar for the 17th time, and they're not bored of it. And why is that? If you told me that I had to level up through Battle for Azeroth or Shadowlands again in retail WoW, I would tear my eyes out. But if you told me, oh hey, you gotta do Tirisfal Glade.
Why? It's why? If your goal was literally, if let's say you were a completionist, your goal was to level through, let's say, Shadowlands, or let's say like this, your goal was to speed run Shadowlands leveling, like whatever it was, 50 to 60, I guess. Is 70 the max now? Yeah, so it was 50 to 60 for Shadowlands, or 60 to 70. I'm not even sure anymore. It's been so long. I feel like it was 50 to 60. Let's say your goal was to speed run 50 to 60 on Shadowlands. You will have fun. Because you don't care about the end game of Shadowlands, but you would have fun 50 to 60. It's not that the leveling experience sucks, it's that your goal is to skip this because it's in the way. Doing Torghast is not a bad experience when your goal is not farming Soul Ash. Your goal is to speed, like to get a world record on Torghast, on like this specific difficulty in this specific map. This is your goal, speedrun this. And people were doing it and they were having fun. Right? My goal is to be the first one to unlock the highest difficulty. My goal is to get the first highest item level legendary. My goal is to do this. My goal is to do that. It's all about the goals. The goals make the content fun. What is the goal of leveling in Dragonflight? It is literally a time gate mechanic to go to the end game. Because that's what you care about. That's it. And why do you care about that? Because that also is limited. That content is limited. You want to experience it as much as you can. You also probably took time off work when Dragonflight came out to try it out. So you want to maximize on your fun. And leveling is in the way because you know that the fun is at the end game. If there was no end game in Dragonflight, let's say they said something like this. Let's say Dragonflight released and for end game content, there is nothing for a month. But leveling would take you a very long time. You would probably have a lot more people making new characters and going through all of the quests and stuff than you did. But as soon as like they know, well, the dungeons are out, the Mythic Zero is out, the Mythic Plus is out. Well, I want to get the highest item level, then fuck this, leveling is in the way.
Blades for the 10,000th time since you started playing this game in 2005. Wouldn't bother me one bit. I would say, dude, let's do it. I'd make that undead rogue or that.
And also, by the way, don't forget, this guy really loves Classic WoW for some reason. It's like him explaining to me why Classic WoW is fun is the same as Mr. Llama SC telling me that Diablo 2 is still fun. After he did like thousands of whatever run, thousands of Bale runs, thousands of Mephisto runs. And it's like, but you're doing the same thing. But for him, it's fun, and that's fine. But how can he explain to me why it's fun? I can't. He can't, because it's very personal. So him saying, oh, but Classic is really fun. No, it's not. If I look at it, no, it's not. It's really not fun. It's a very bad, poorly designed game, very unbalanced, so many issues. You can't do like almost anything on your own at some point, which is like, you know, for me, it's a problem. Right? Some people, that's for them is good. So here's a big contradiction, right? For me, I want to be able to do shit on my own. For others, they want the content to force you to be in a group, right? I would love to run Scarlet Monastery alone because then I'm not dependent on 4 other idiots not fucking up. But you can't.
Undead mage and I dive right in. And why is that? Blizzard back in the day clearly had a completely different mindset when it came
No,
to
they
the
didn't.
level up experience in
No, they didn't. This is like what he's saying here. Oh my god, bro, I can't believe I'm 20 minutes in on the 2-minute video. I told you I have a lot to say about this. What he said here is true for every MMORPG that was ever released. The first iteration of an MMO, the 1.0 release of any game that is like literally of any game, honestly, any RPG game, the first iteration has by far the most content and the slowest content. You cannot give me one example probably where this is not the case. Elden Ring, you think the DLC is going to offer more content than the base game? You're delusional. All the Dark Souls and the expansion and the DLCs, World of Warcraft, ESO had more content than any like base content in the 1.0 than any DLC, than honestly than all DLCs combined probably. Okay, Guild Wars 2, same thing. Yeah, Guild Wars 2 is actually like pretty good at making content for every expansion that is like adding a shit ton. I really want to say good stuff about Guild Wars 2 right now because I'm really enjoying it. But either way, like just like thinking about it like objectively, right? What did Guild Wars 2 add? Like in terms of maps and like the leveling experience, which by the way used to be a lot slower as far as I understand. Yeah, nothing can compare to Guild Wars 2 base game in any DLC, which is expected. The base game gives out the most variety of content because you're trying to bring people in. And then you see what people like and you focus on that. How many zones did you get in Classic versus TBC? TBC you got what, 5 zones and some dungeons and whatever and raids? What'd you get in Classic? Like 53 zones or like probably more? I don't even know. Like you cannot make another DLC with that many zones. It's too much.
in World of Warcraft. They wanted the leveling to be fun.
No, they didn't. They just didn't have any endgame content. And because there was also, not only was there no endgame content, there was no knowledge of endgame content. No one has been to the endgame. They don't even know what to expect. They're not in a rush either. They're not thinking, well, in 6 months, this raid is not going to be viable because the next raid is out. Which, by the way, in Classic's defense, yeah, you can use old raid gear, can still be your best in slot even when the next raid comes out. And that's only because of like item level inflation was not as big of a problem as it is now. But like no one knew what the end game was. No one knew that's like, well, I want to be the first person to clear Molten Core, so I'm going to rush through leveling. No, of course you're going to take your time exploring and enjoying the game. But bring me a player right now that just wants to do ICC. I want to make a warlock and I want to go do ICC right now. Tell me he's going to enjoy leveling and he's not going to get a mage boost.
That you were going to spend untold numbers of hours just trying to get to level 60, and they wanted to make sure that that adventure hooked you right from the beginning. And there's a lot that we could talk about that has lended to that hook. What causes it? The first things for me that come to mind, like, oh, why do I like Classic WoW leveling so much?
You're an idiot.
Like in starting zones,
no
I
offense.
would say, well, I love the fact that all the gear matters and is relevant. I love learning my new class abilities and seeing what's coming next. I love earning, the dual wielding as a rogue at level 10, the Void Walker as a warlock. I like earning
everything he just said. I can say about Dragonflight, or I can say about I can say about honestly just World of Warcraft retail right now. If you're a completely brand new player, it's a bit faster, sure, but with a new talent system, with how items are, honestly, if they decrease the leveling speed a little bit, this would be true as well. But honestly, if you just start a completely new character, you get to level 10 because you finish the tutorial area, and go to like Legion. The leveling experience in Legion is fantastic. If you're a new player, the leveling experience in WoD is fantastic. If you're a new player, the leveling experience anywhere, except unironically Classic areas, is fantastic. Which, by the way, the Classic areas, there is like for the optimal leveling, you do some classic at the beginning, but like in terms of enjoyment, Legion by far, and WoD by far, in terms of enjoyment of the quests, of the story, of accessibility to the quests, like how the quests are done and locations, finding stuff, the treasure chest that you find randomly and shit like that. WoD is by far more interesting as a brand new player to level up in.
That first green robe as a priest when you get to Brill and Tirisfal Glades, getting your first green item drop out in the world. There's so much to say. Every single time you level a new character in WoW, it's a memorable experience. You go out, you pick up professions in order to make your character even stronger than the guy next to you. You take the time to mine those nodes or skin those wolves or whatever, and suddenly you feel like a badass walking around in the gear that you crafted yourself.
And you still can't fight two monsters at the same time. So do you really feel more powerful? Oh, I'm killing the same mob that took me a minute before. I'm killing it now in 50 seconds. Progress! Oh, two mobs, I gotta run. Wow. Meanwhile, it's the same in WoW, except that you can fight like 10 mobs right away. Actually, Dragonflight was a bit harder if you were just like base geared, not like Mythic Plus geared from Shadowlands. You could only fight like I think it was like 4 mobs, because like they fucking hurt for most, unless you had like all your cooldowns up and all that stuff. Then yeah, you can do more, but like, yeah, it's not that different. It's like, oh, I'm gonna craft gear and I'm gonna get higher item level, and it's like it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, the Dragonflight stuff is scaled to your level, which really sucks. But
with a sharpened weapon that you have sharpened with your own 2 hands, and I don't know,
like all of these things that he's saying, it's like they're semantics. They really don't matter. It's a feel-good thing, but when you think about it, it really doesn't matter.
no, everything feels impactful. Everything feels like it's worth doing.
No,
and this is a huge contrast to modern World of Warcraft and other modern MMOs, where picking up professions or getting new pieces of gear or whatever is completely meaningless.
I can say the same about WoW. You don't need to pick up professions to get to max level. You don't need to do all this meaningless stuff to get to a max level to get better gear. You can just do quests and you'll get the better gear. There's such a weird, like, it's not a weird point, but it's like it's such a weak point, because all of this is literally it doesn't give you anything. Realistically speaking, it doesn't give you anything, because you can craft the best item for level 10, for example, and once you reach level 12 and something drops, it's probably better. So it's not that meaningful. It's only meaningful because you want it to be. Like, oh, I crafted this, I feel so much more powerful, I do 1 more damage per attack. Damn, bro, how much time is it saving you? 5 seconds on the minute. Wow, bro, you're so strong. This is like, give me a fucking break, man.
It's completely meaningless. It has no impact whatsoever. It does not make the mobs less dangerous. It does not even make the level up experience feel like it's going faster. If anything, maybe you're killing mobs like 0.001% faster. That's how it feels. And it's boring. If I'm playing an orc in Durotar and I'm leaving Razor Hill and I'm a miner and a blacksmith, and
the only difference, so this is the only profession in WoW that can actually make you feel, and I do need to correct myself, the only profession WoW that can make you feel really stronger is engineering, because you can get bombs. Everything else pretty much meaningless in terms of your damage.
A warrior, I'm thinking about several things. I'm thinking, man, I really need to get healing potions. Those would be very useful for me when I face Fizzle down in like the canyons later on down the road. Hey,
just buy food. Just buy food, open chests for the potions, like, you don't need to craft them.
Hey, while I'm at Northwatch Keep, or whatever that little human like castle is, I need to be gathering linen cloth to level up my first aid. That's going to be very useful to me as a warrior. I need to keep my eyes out for mining nodes, because I need to create a new copper vest. I need to level up my blacksmithing. I want to make that green.
Just get food. The only use for, 1st aid for the most part is in PvP. Maybe sometimes you can like stun a mob and then like get some first aid going. Sure. Like you'll get like 2 ticks. But realistically speaking, that's get food.
Two-handed axe that's gonna make me unkillable for so many levels. I'm thinking about all this stuff on top of
There's no such thing as unkillable. It just depends how many mobs you pull. Unless you're playing retail WoW, then there is such a thing when you're a tank.
the quests that I have to do, on top of the fact that I'm in the world, I'm planning out my route. You're more engaged with the game. And this is something that I wish that the
It's not if your goal is to just get through the zone. I leveled through Classic. Let's say I didn't get far. Like I gave up at I think 24 or 26 because I was like, yo, fuck this shit. This is too slow. This is too boring. I'm fucking tired of attacking 1 or 2 mobs and having to use a fucking what do you call it? Like eating food for mana and drink, like for mana and health. It's just like, this is fucking tedious. Why can't they just regenerate out of combat faster? Why do I have to like fucking sit for 30 seconds between each fight? This makes no fucking sense, right? I couldn't stand it. But hey, it makes the game more interesting. You're wasting more time in the game. Sure, but like, I didn't have fun, and my goal was not to like plan the route. I go to a hub of quests, I take all the quests, I see where the quests are, and me planning the route is, I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna go around, then I'm gonna end up here. This is me planning the route. You think I'm doing anything different in retail WoW? I take a bunch of quests when I'm leveling. Here are the quests. Usually they're in the same place, but let's say there's 3 different quests in 3 different locations. Well, I'm not going to go to the middle one, then the north one, then the south one. I'm going to go south, middle, north, right? It's like, or north, middle, south, whichever. I'm planning my route.
The modern game had. And so I've been sitting here pondering on that engagement, asking myself, do I feel this way when I play Dragonflight, for example, when I'm leveling a new character on the Dragon Isles? I mean, not really. I would say that leveling in Dragonflight is way better than WoW has been in the past few years. It's a lot of fun. There's all these cool systems that you can unlock, new things to do. But
I would say leveling in Dragonflight is by far superior to leveling in Classic. But the only reason, or more like the only aspect that Dragonflight is not superior to Classic is that you are not really unlocking anything new while leveling. Maybe one talent that's gonna be like a game changer, but probably not. Right? That is the only thing, because you already unlocked pretty much all of your whole class by the time you get into Dragonflight. Now, if they made Dragonflight leveling from 1 to 70, I think it's 70 now, if the Dragonflight experience was 1 to 70, then I would be like, okay, I'm getting stronger as I'm fighting and da. But that's not the case, and that's, and it would be way more fun than Classic.
For me, when I was leveling in Dragonflight, there was no moment where I freaked out and I got really excited, kind of like you do when you get your first 6-slot bag dropping off of a wolf in Dun Moreau. Something where you're like, wow, this is going to be extremely useful to me in the future. I am happy that this happened. This is great. It just changed my entire strategy playing forward in the game. I don't know. There was never really a moment like that for me in Dragonflight.
Or in any expansion, because the base game, when you start as a fucking scrub, is very different from when you start in the middle and go up. When you start from 0, getting to the middle feels good. Middle to end feels like, well, maybe just a little bit more, right? Like you're getting a little bit more. But like, yeah, when you start with an auto attack, this is your only ability is an auto attack, right? Then yeah, once you get your first skill, you're like, holy shit, man, I have 100% more buttons to click now. You get 2 more abilities. Oh my god, 100% more. Holy shit, I have so many abilities to click now. I have to click 1, 2, 3, and 4. But yeah, when you start Dragonflight, you already have your full fucking arsenal of buttons. You're not getting anything more. What are you gonna get? Like 10 more buttons? No, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, you already have 10 buttons to click.
Dragonflight.
Happy Feet 8478, thank you very much for the follow. Gonna play Guild Wars 2 after this video. It's 3 more minutes, but with my reactions, might be in like 10 more minutes.
In Star Wars The Old Republic, a game I recently just leveled through, I didn't really have a moment like that. Even in Elder Scrolls Online, a game that I really enjoy, ESO, you don't really have those moments. Modern MMOs just treat the level up experience like it's just a chore. And if you're gonna...
The problem is you also played ESO when it was already ESO, like whatever they called that patch where they just made everything scale. So you literally basically play the level 50 character at level 1 and you just unlock stuff. So yeah, it did feel a bit different. In my opinion, ESO original leveling was way more fun, aside from the bugs, obviously. Way more fun, way more engaging. You felt really good getting your abilities and all that stuff. Leveling up your skill tree to unlock certain abilities was way more fun. Obviously now it's not, because I already know what the end game is like. I know what the build I want to go for and da. So it's not as fun. So
gonna treat the level up content like it's just this boring grind that needs to be just drudged through. Why even have it in the first place? Just have players start at max level and just jump right into the end game. What is...
Because they're introducing you to the system of the game. They're introducing you to the world, obviously. What do you mean, what is the point? It's literally just introduction to the world, get you into the story a bit so you can enjoy it. I mean, what you're basically suggesting is, why have vertical progression as a whole? Just make everything horizontal. So just introduce the system. Basically, play Guild Wars 2. Play Guild Wars 2. When the expansion comes out, you're already at max level. You just get to experience the new systems of the expansion. You get to experience the story, but you're already max level.
What's the purpose of early game? Early game in an MMO should fill you with a sense of adventure.
But you're not in early game in an MMO. An expansion of an MMO is not early game of an MMO. Unless you expect a full reset with every expansion, it is not a new experience. It's not a new character. This is such a dumb fucking take. This is why I'm really pissed off at Nixxiom takes, because they're so stupid regarding like leveling is no longer fun.
Early game should be teaching you how to play your class. Early game should be introducing you to the lore, to the...
Yes, that's what it should do. That's not an expansion. In an expansion, you don't need a reintroduction to the class you played for the last 20 years. That is so stupid.
World, the mechanics of the game. It should be introducing you to treasures and moments that make you go, whoa, that was awesome. In an MMORPG, a game all about leaving this world, behind and immersing ourselves into a whole new world, an MMO needs to cultivate a feeling of going on an adventure. And modern games compared to older MMOs just don't have that. There's barely any MMOs that really adhere to this formula and made it like a core concept of their gameplay.
Every MMO, in my opinion, has adhered to this exact concept of leveling. You might not like some leveling experience, but every MMO. I would say New World's probably the worst one, because you have like 3 abilities and you have them from beginning to end, basically. So that's the only one who really didn't. But in terms of like progressing your professions and all that stuff, I think people had like a very, I believe people up until level 30 had really good time leveling in New World, for example, right? Lost Ark knew that all the content is endgame, so they're like, okay, let's just do a bit of the story so you get through it and like introduce you to your abilities really quick, like while you're leveling. No need to overthink this, and boom, go to endgame, because they knew overall the leveling experience in Lost Ark is going to be meaningless because there's so much content at the end game, and that's exactly what people are going to play Lost Ark for. It's all about goal setting. ESO, in my opinion, did leveling really well. The stories are fantastic, the experience is fantastic, how you level up your skills is fantastic, right? Guild Wars 2 did a fantastic job with the not the master, but like the hero point system and all that stuff. Fantastic job. Right, Final Fantasy 14, in my opinion, was a bit too long getting your abilities, because you can spend 2 hours with the same abilities until you get the next one, even more than 2 hours. But Final Fantasy 14, the leveling experience is literally the story, and that's why people play it. So yeah, this is such a dumb play.
You have
I
early
just don't
World
agree
of
with
Warcraft,
almost anything he
Lord of the
says.
Rings Online, Star Wars Galaxies, and you know, what other ones are there? I don't really remember. Maybe Warhammer Online when it first came out, but that was so long ago.
Oh, that looks
I
really
don't
good.
remember. It's just fascinating watching all these people playing classic hardcore.
No, it's only fascinating to you because you're playing it. I think like watching people play WoW Classic Hardcore is the dumbest thing. First of all, watching them is super dumb. Second of all, playing it is even dumber.
Dying at level 8, level 10, level 20 or something.
Can you imagine being in the Twitch chat, watching a guy fight a spider 1v1 for like spiders 1v1, more like, for an hour? The same fucking spider, you know, you kill one, you go to the next one, but the same fucking spider for an hour until maybe he fucks up and dies. Imagine the masochism in like that should be happening in your brain.
And then just starting all over again, same zones, and they have no problem with it. They're just like, oh.
Because again, their goal is that. That is their goal. That's it. Their goal is not past that. They're actively pursuing their goal in the moment all the time. You can't expect people to go into an MMO and their goal is, I just don't want to die at level 1. I just don't want to die at level 2. I just don't want to die at level 3. That's not realistic at all.
Cool, let's do it again. And it just really shows how good Blizzard's old school game design was.
No, it doesn't. Because then you're saying that people who are speedrunning a game like Mario, well, actually Mario is a pretty good game, but like any speedrunning of any game, that means that the game was fucking, oh my god, look how good this game is. People who are speedrunning Diablo 2, and again, there is viewership to that, people like it, and it's interesting to some. I don't care. Good for you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. But let's be real for a second. That doesn't make the leveling experience in Diablo 2 that great. Especially once you know what the end game is like. The leveling experience in Diablo 2 is meh. However, if you're a brand new player who never touched Diablo 2, who doesn't know anything about Diablo 2 ever, like nothing, you don't know what the end game is like, the leveling experience in Diablo 2 is fantastic. By the way, Diablo 3, shit game. The leveling experience in Diablo 3 for the first time is amazing. One of the most fun I've ever had in a Diablo game was Diablo 3. When it just came out, when it's brand new. Hitting, Inferno mode was fucking phenomenal. And it's like it made you think about like certain builds that you can make for survivability but still do the damage. Wolcen, as bad as it is, in my opinion, is fantastic in that regard too. And like trying new builds, trying to overcome this bullshit mechanic or the bullshit DCs, or if you lag, you don't want to die. But like, this is all subjective because my goal is different. If my goal was, well, I just want to do the highest end content, then I would just build a cheese build.
In the fact that it's so replayable, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with that. So that's my rant for the day, fellas. I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you guys, a few little...
And the bad take is not that... I don't care that people find fun. I think all the power to you if you find it fun. And you do what you want. But to say that the leveling experience in WoW Classic was good... Is that why people don't make a lot of multiple characters in Classic WoW and they just get boosted through? Is that why everyone paid for a mage carry to max level in Classic WoW? Because the leveling experience was so good when all they want to do is BWL? Right? It's like, oh, I'm playing a warrior main. I want to make a warlock. Can someone carry me to max level on my warlock? You know, I'm talking about Zach, obviously. About Asmongold. But it's like someone needs to carry you because all you want to do is BWL. You don't give a shit about the leveling.
Little observations that I've seen.
Alright, that's pretty much the video. Anyways, you'll get my point. I think this take is extremely fucking poor, extremely bad. I think all MMOs do leveling pretty well for the first run, but let's be real. Most people are not replaying the game for the leveling. They're replaying it for the end game. And you cannot make the early leveling experience the same as you can the end game. The end game offers usually a ton more replayability. The only replayability that leveling allows you to do in a brand new MMO is different zones and different classes. Right? But if you don't care about that and you just want the end game, then a leveling is always going to be in your way. And if you just want to optimize, then yeah, as you can see, I did downvote this because I think this is such a dumb take. But whatever. You can feel free to downvote me if you feel it's a bad take. I'm not gonna take offense. My take is a bit spicy. Spicy. God, where's from? Internet historian. Price of Concordia. So good. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. And obviously, don't throw hate at Nixxiom. If you have hate, throw it at me. I'm totally fine with it. And yeah, that's it. Take care.